Yo, what's going on, guys? And today, of course, we got to talk about Stephon Castle. Before we start today's video, I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section and hit that subscribe button for more content like this, and head over to hoopshype.com to go check out my written work. The San Antonio Spurs 2024-25 season has been a roller coaster, marked both by adversity and unexpected breakthroughs. The most recent and significant blow came when Victor Wembanyama, the second-year wonderkin and defensive anchor, was ruled out for the season due to a blood clot in his shoulder. Wembanyama, who was leading the league in blocks per game with 3.8 and ranking highly in multiple defensive metrics, including 424 defensive rebounds, 8th in the league. His defensive win shares, 3.0, 8th in the league. He was the front runner to win Defensive Player of the Year, and now that has left a gaping hole in the Spurs lineup. Phrasing. His absence has forced the team to recalibrate, and in the midst of this turmoil, rookie Stephon Castle has emerged as a potential cornerstone for this franchise. Now, the former UConn guard who played a pivotal role in the Huskies' 2024 NCAA championship run has quickly ascended into a key role for the Spurs, a team that has multiple veterans on it, including point guard Chris Paul and the recently traded for De'Aaron Fox. With Wembanyama sidelined and De'Aaron Fox now being the primary scorer, Castle has stepped up as a reliable secondary scorer and playmaker. His development has been one of the few bright spots in an otherwise challenging season that saw Gregg Popovich in early November suffer a mild stroke, and since then, interim head coach Mitch Johnson has been leading this team. Now, it is reported that Gregg Popovich is expected to attempt to come back next year and to coach this team. The dark horse rumor is if Mitch Johnson were, or if Coach Gregg Popovich is not coaching next year, they would have a different coach than Mitch Johnson, just out of, it seems like, self-preservation. His averages, as we said after the breakout game last night: 13 points, 42% from the field, 28% from three rebounds, 3.5 assists, about a block and a steal a night for the rookie. And this is a guy that has been able to show he can disrupt the passing lanes, protect the rim as a weak side shot blocker. And this is a team that's 18th, 12th worst defensive rating in the league. And being a guy who, right here, 3 assists a night, while his shooting splits are something that you hope would work, I think the most telling sign in all of this, if you guys have been paying attention, is what the kid's been able to do over the last 10 games or so, as he is a guy who's been able to produce pretty well. So compared to the first 57 games, the last 10 games, he's been a guy who's averaged 28 minutes, 43% from the field. I think the blocks in per game and steals, just ignore those numbers. I have no idea why they were put like that. But about 4 rebounds, 16 points, 5 assists on 2 turnovers, shooting 68% from the free throw line, 32% from 3, 43% from the field. So to me, when you see numbers like that, where he's been able to, obviously the increase in minutes, almost 30 minutes a night, showing the trust in the coaching staff, but when a guy increases minutes and his field goal percentage improves, he goes from below 40% to almost a league average shooter. And same thing, 3-point shot goes from 26% to 32.5. League average is like 35%. So same thing with scoring. That the fact that he can demonstrate the ability to take on a bigger offensive role, and particularly with Wembanyama absent, is a very telling sign, as his involvement from assists to rebounding have all been impactful. And for a team that this year, you'd have to say, is honestly trying to show that they have the seeds of, I would like to say, a playoff team. And I originally supposed that their goal was to make the play-in this year. 13th worst offense, 12th worst defense, but they are the 11th fastest pace. I don't know why I said that with a lisp. 13th points per game, worst. 13th worst. 11th worst opponent's points per game. 5th worst 3-point percentage, and 15th in turnovers per game. So a team that's middle of the pack or in the bottom half in the league in terms of their offense and defense. And with Wembanyama out, we've obviously know those defensive struggles are being exacerbated as their only true rim protector beyond Bismack Biyombo is no one. And Castle's defensive activity, switchability, and willingness to be a point of attack defender is going to help mitigate some of those and be a guy that will help you in your transition perimeter defense. We talked about it before. Him scoring now, what we saw in that 32-point performance against Oklahoma City, I think is showing what he's been able to do and what they're expecting from a guy like him. Now, we've said it before. This is definitely a guy who you got De'Aaron Fox, who's going to be around for a while, and his ability to play off of Fox, who's going to draw significant defensive attention, which will allow for opportunities for Castle to play as an off-ball secondary playmaker and scorer. Then you have Devin Vassell, who's perfect as this two-way wing. Harrison Barnes, kind of the forward. Jeremy Sohan's the Swiss Army knife off the bench. Bismack Biyombo is the big that, is in due to the fact that Victor Wembanyama is out. And Castle being brought on immediately as a role player who's a secondary playmaker and off-ball scorer as they develop him. So once Fox handles the primary scoring duties or eventually moves to the bench in terms of like in a game, Castle then can be the facilitator and attack the mismatch and runs it, especially once Chris Paul moves on. And maybe a few years down the line, you eventually would slowly try to have Castle, after being mentored and running the offense and managing the game, to be the facilitator. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. The standout performance in the 146-132 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder on March 2nd. Despite that loss, Castle had 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. The game was where he had multiple steals and blocks against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and J-Dub, two of the best players in this league. And the day before, 130-128 win against the Grizzlies, he had 24 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists. So with Gregg Popovich expected to return next season or another coach taking over, I think Castle's ability to be a lead guard, to play off ball, and to be an improving shooter will eventually allow him to be a starter or a high-level six-man for this team until he's ready to be a part of the starting lineup. So Wembanyama, Fox, Vassell, Sohan, all are a really good core. So if the team adds another star in free agency or the draft, I think Castle's development could accelerate. His potential defensively and his willingness to attack the rim, and with his improving jump shot, I think the Spurs are in a great situation. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. That's it. Bye.